Good evening, y'all. Welcome back to Apron Strings. It's been a while since I've been here with y'all. I've been in this kitchen, but I hadn't had my camera on. So I just thought I better talk to y'all today. It's been 2 weeks today since my sweetheart went to his heavenly home. And I know y'all have questions and you're wondering what happened because he had been doing better. So I'm just going to tell y'all the events of the day, and then I'm going to take you outside to my peaceful place and show y'all the garden and what it's doing. If I cry, sorry. I'm having to learn a new chapter. I don't know how to live like this. On May the 2nd, Troy had a doctor's appointment with his heart doctor, and he had been doing good, and he said, "Baby, you can work." He said, "I can drive myself to the doctor and I'll be just fine." So I went on to sub at the school, and I texted him about 2 o'clock, and I said, "Baby, are you home yet?" And he said, "I'm just rolling in." So then I called, because I don't like to text that much, and I said, "What'd the doctor say?" He said, "Well, I got as good a report as I can get for the shape I'm in." He said my EKG was good, my defibrillator hadn't had any near hits, and he said I did tell him that I was just so tired, and he said, "Well, Troy, you're running on 2 cylinders. Just, slow down, take it easy, but, you're doing pretty good." So he came on home, and my son talked to him all the way home, and he was fine. Little Richard texted him about 20 minutes or a quarter to 4, because he had some stuff he was going to see if Papa wanted, and instead of calling, he texted him where he could send him a picture of it. Somebody was throwing some stuff away, and Troy's a junk collector. So, yeah, he wanted it. At 5 after 4, I rode up in the driveway, and normally Troy's sitting with this part of his arms on his knees, hunched over, because somehow that opened up his lungs to where he could breathe better. He had hypertension in his lungs. That's what kept him from qualifying for a heart transplant 2 years ago. But I noticed that he wasn't sitting like that. He was sitting leaning to the side with one arm dangling down. So I hurried on up the driveway and jumped out and ran around. And by the time I got around behind the other vehicle, he had fell over on the concrete and was moaning real loud. And so I immediately jumped down there. "Baby, are you okay?" "No." And so I called 911. I lifted his little head up, put my foot under it where it wouldn't just be back on the concrete. And he was breathing little bitty short. He wasn't breathing really, just a little bit. And they have to ask you 529 questions before they'll call an ambulance, I guess. I finally told the lady, I said, "Will you please get an ambulance on the way and then ask me these questions?" So about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe 15, the fire department from Cleveland got here, and that's only 5 miles. And they worked on him and worked and worked and worked, and they told me that they couldn't get a pulse, and the thing they had on him was breathing for him. Well, then the ambulance got here, and they worked on him, and they told me again that there was no pulse, and he wasn't breathing, but they had to take him to Cleveland. The nearest hospital is actually a little emergency clinic that's opened up in Cleveland. So we followed the ambulance up there. By that time, I told y'all Josh and Richard and Jordan all work at the old McDonald's farm. So Josh, they were all working. So Shelley called Josh, said, "Bring Richard and Jordan up here, as quick as you can get here." So they got here before they took him to ER. And we followed up there, and I knew. 3 weeks ago, Troy sat at the table, and he looked at me, and he said, "Girl, I probably don't have much longer." I said, "Baby, please don't say that." He said, "Well, it's probably true." And he has been methodically making sure I knew how to do stuff. Like our freeze dryer. We were freeze drying eggs, and he said, "Come here, girl." Well, I thought something was wrong with him, and I ran out there, and he said, "I just want to be sure that you know how to do this." Alarm bells went off, but I didn't say anything. I said, "Well, you better remind me, because sometimes I forget." So I watched him again, and I had gotten some greenstalk vertical planters, and he wanted to sit out there and make sure I was putting them together right so they would be level, so that everything would work right. He wasn't able to do much, but he watched me, and that was on Sunday before he died on Tuesday. So I really think that Troy knew, and he didn't just totally voice it any more than I don't think I have much longer. But anyhow, so they called us back in the little room, and I knew when they put us in a little room, instead of going to where he was, that he was gone. And of course my grandkids were a basket case. April was on her way in from A&M with Lauren, and they were hysterical. I was worried about them driving. My son was in Oklahoma, and he had to get home to Sherman, and then they didn't get here till about 1 o'clock that night. But anyway, that's what happened, and Troy would have been 72 May 28th. He almost made it to his birthday. But he's in a better place. His funeral service was one of the most awesome services I've ever been in, and a lot of people said they've never been in a funeral service like that. Troy had it together with the good Lord, and it was evident by the sweet Spirit of God that was at his service. If you are my friend on Facebook, there's a Facebook Live if you want to go watch the service. Little Richard brought his duffel bag, and he stayed with me. April stayed until Lauren had finals. That's why we waited so long to have the funeral. Lauren had finals on Friday and Monday after Troy died on Tuesday. Well, I didn't want to mess up her studying and her schooling. So we waited till after her finals, and then we had the service on Saturday. So April had to go back up there and come back with her. So little Richard stayed here. My son went on back because he couldn't really stay, 8 or 10 days. He had stuff to do at home. So Richard stayed here with me and mowed the grass and tidied things up. My friends came out and helped me move some of Troy's little rat pack areas because he hasn't been able to do anything. He just stacked his stuff everywhere. So we got that clean. And then my wonderful friends that I graduated with, there's a group of us girls that are friends, and we get together. They came out and spent 3 or 4 hours with me, a couple of days, and they brought food every day for my family that was here, whoever was here. My neighbor behind me, the second day on Wednesday, the ones that, they saw the ambulance, and they came over and stayed with me until we went up to ER. That's Josh's parents. So she brought fajitas Wednesday night for everybody, and I've just had so much support that it's overwhelming. And I'm not scared. I'm not a scaredy cat, but we are in the country, and I don't have any close enough neighbors that if I'm yelling, they wouldn't hear me. So on Thursday, ADT came and put me in an alarm system. Makes me feel very secure and comfortable. So that being said, I don't know anything else I need to tell y'all except I didn't want to cook today, but I wanted to talk to y'all to let you know how much I appreciate every email, every comment on my YouTube channel, every text. I don't know what that means. I have received so many cards, and I don't have them in front of me, and I don't want to start calling names. I'm afraid I'll forget somebody. Some of you tucked money in those cards. You'll never know what that meant to me. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. There's no school this summer for me to work some, so I'm going to do an apron video coming up pretty soon. So if y'all need gifts, or if you need an apron, I would certainly appreciate orders, because that's going to help me make ends meet. So I'll be doing probably an apron thing every month or 6 weeks, just to help. Summer's coming, the light bill's going to be more, and I don't know, I hadn't walked down this road by myself before. I married Troy 1 week after I graduated, and he's all I've ever known, and he's provided for me. I've never had to work a public job. There's been a few times I worked at a kitchen store, 2 different kitchen stores, because I like kitchen stores, 3, counting Sur La Table. And I worked at an insurance company and even got my license to write policies, but I let them go. That was goofy, wasn't it? But anyway, Troy's always worked and provided, so I'm kind of at a loss right now. But we've had lots of rain, and it has made the things that I was able to get into my beds just grow, and they're getting so pretty. Now we've had so much rain that it's kind of a mess on the ground back there. So y'all just excuse the mess, and I'm going to show you my raised beds and how my beans have come up in my greenstalk. I'm excited. I've got the 2 that we finished Sunday before he passed away that I've got to get planted, but that's okay. I'll have my beans in stages. And so I got another one that I hadn't got put together yet while it was on sale here a while back, cheap. And I'm going to get it put together, and I'm going to put peppers in it. All different kinds of peppers. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I like peppers, and I'm going to share. I'll give some away. Now Troy had about 14 tomato plants that he didn't get in the ground. So one day, I don't remember which day, I snuck out in the backyard and planted those in a couple of my raised beds. And also, he never got any okra planted. So as soon as the garden thing out front dries up enough, I'm going to get some okra seed in the ground where I'll have some okra. And what I may do, I may have my grandson put me like a 10-foot fence around, wire fence around that one out front, because the deer can't jump it maybe. And I can have a garden out there that I can grow green beans and peas and stuff in next year or in the fall. I'll make my mind up. But we have deer that are just eating everything up that's not in the backyard, so there's no use planting out there. We do have potatoes planted if they don't rot in the ground from all the rain. So anyway, I'm fixing to turn the camera off and walk out back, and I'm going to show y'all how pretty my garden's growing. I still haven't got my hydrangeas planted that April bought me, but the phone, I don't know who that is. Okay, we'll go out back. Okay, y'all, here's my green stalk that had strawberries in it, but I also planted cilantro, and it's huge. I've got parsley. I've got peppers up here, and they've got little peppers on them. See the peppers? And my parsley is growing big. My dill that was just little bitty bitty, it was about that tall, it's big now. The 4 o'clocks that I had planted over here are fixing to bloom. They're growing. So I'm real proud of that. Now let me walk around here. See, I've got to get those hydrangeas planted. My basil is looking good, and I had planted these flowers in here with it. I've broke several of those limbs off, and I've got them in water in the kitchen window rooting so I can plant them around with my tomatoes. There's some more 4 o'clocks that I had potted up that came up volunteers. Remember I showed y'all I had little bitty pieces of this basil right here, the African blue, and look how big it's gotten. It loves rainwater. So that will draw in the pollinators. Now I'm going to walk on around here so I can show y'all. Those aren't looking too good. I don't know what the deal is. I planted some more in there. Maybe they'll look better. Maybe too much rain. I don't know. Look at my lavender blooming. I just wish to goodness I could smell it, but I can't. But it came back, made it through the winter, and I'm just tickled to death. This is that ginger mint, and it was a little bitty twig, and it's growing really well too. So I'm very proud of that. So I've got a lot of weed stuff in there that I've got to pull out, and I'm going to come dump some mushroom compost in there and just plant a lot of sunflower seed in there because I didn't get to plant my row out front that I always plant. My lantana's coming back really good, starting to bloom. There's one of my hydrangeas that I got to get around yonder and plant. And there's another lantana the birds planted, and it was gorgeous last year, and it's come back from freezing to the ground. I'm proud of that. This is that tomato plant that, remember I told y'all I planted a little tomato and it made a bunch of tomato plants. I want you to look at all the tomatoes on this. There's some there. There's a bunch down in there. There's a bunch down there. I mean, it's just loaded with little salad tomatoes and lots of blooms. And all I did was plant one whole tomato in the ground. Over there, that's what those are. And they've all got tomatoes on them. Now this is yellow squash. And I just stuck 2 tomato plants in there, and I didn't check on companion planting. I needed somewhere to put them. This is a yellow squash. These 6 back here are eggplant. This is bush cucumbers. I hope to goodness they make a bunch of cucumbers. This is yellow squash in the middle, and then this is French radishes on this side and purple radishes on the other side, and they'll be ready shortly before the squash gets really big enough to shade them. There's my geranium, and it's grown, and I potted me some, I don't know if y'all saw these or not, I bought some little pots. Look at that lizard showing his money pouch. I don't know if y'all can see him or not. I potted these up because I like to bring the pollinators. I like the hummingbirds and butterflies and bees, so I wanted blooms back here. See how big that African blue basil has gotten from just a twig. It's doing great. The 4 o'clocks will be open here in a little bit, and they are, I mean, that's just come back in the pot from last year. Maybe the good Lord knew I needed all of this. Troy's cousins brought me a beautiful plant to the service, and then they brought me this rain gauge that I've got. And it hadn't rained since I put it out here, so now I can accurately tell you how much rain we've had. Some more yellow squash and one more tomato. And then this is green onions that I planted the roots of, and they're growing. I need to trim them so they'll keep growing. This is, and I don't know how to say it, Chioggia, beets. And I put radishes on there, but it's beets. So I'll have me a few beets. I've never planted beets before, and I'm real excited about it. This is lima beans in this bed. And I think lima beans in this bed. Let me look and see. No, this is butter peas in this bed. And see how big they've grown? I'm just so excited. Now these two beds here, that's going long ways, are the tomatoes that Troy did not get planted. So I've got to go find cages to put on them. And I hope it's not too shady here, but this was better than just letting them die. So y'all can see I need to weed eat. All the rain has made the weeds grow, and it's just a mess. That's okay, I'll get it done. Now what's going to be on this arch right here is scarlet runner beans. And see them growing right there? And I'm going to dig up a couple of them and put them over here against this side, where maybe they'll meet on the top. And I had this big thing of thyme in one of those troughs that I moved out, so I just scooped it up and poked it in here. It's doing good. And there's a couple of tomato plants in there that I just had to put somewhere. Look here at all these 4 o'clock seed. Can y'all see them? Those big black seed? I'll pick those out and share them with somebody, because I sure love 4 o'clocks because they're easy. Remember I told y'all that Cindy had a tray of tomato plants that she dropped, so she didn't know what any of them were, and we just put 3 or 4 to the pot. Normally you would do 1, of course. So I don't know what kind of tomato plants these are, but they are doing very well and getting very tall and got blooms on them. So hopefully we will get tomatoes off of it. This is some more 4 o'clocks, and I planted white 4 o'clocks from some seed in that pot, but I've had them a long time, several years, and I just happened to run across them, so I don't know if they're going to germinate or not. If they do, I'll rejoice, and if they don't, I'll plant something else there. My marigolds are doing pretty good from all the rain. I mean, we just have horrible rain. Now these beans right here are, where'd I put my little card at? I think it's on the other side. This is mint. These are royal burgundy beans. And they say they're burgundy colored, but yet they turn green when you cook them, or they taste the same as green beans. And this is some more radishes here. This is purple radishes here. Now look how much, look at the beans in my, those are dragon tongue in that one. And they're just growing so well. And then in this one, remember I told y'all I planted some carrots. This is jade bush, and these are jade bush. And see at the top I planted carrots in with some of them. Probably too thick. We'll see what we get. But I'm proud of how they're growing. And look at my tomato plants. They're just so big and pretty. I'm just so thankful. Let me walk around here. Isn't that cute? I got my big old boot and my armadillo over here. Warning, you don't mess with Texas. Now I've got beans growing here, and I'll have to go to the other side to tell you what kind they are, because I don't see my little marker on this side. So let me walk over there, because I want to show y'all my berries. This is a grow bag that I had bought a year or 2 ago and forgot about, so that's zinnias in there. I'm gonna have me some flowers to cut. That's mint, and then look how big my stevia has gotten. My tarragon came back, and it's doing great. And these tomatoes are doing good. These are celebrities. That's what we have the most luck with. And I'm going to tell y'all, I had a little thing here marking what these were. I think these are rattlesnake green beans, but I'm not sure. My little tag is gone, and my memory right now isn't working the best in the world. So we'll check these and see what they look like in a few days. Now the tomatoes that are in cages, you can see the wire cages. Those are all celebrities. The other ones right here are some more of those from that one tomato that I planted. So we'll see what they do. Now I've got some sweet alyssum planted in that pot right there. And I will be putting basil in among my tomatoes, and that's supposed to help deter the tomato hornworm. I hope it works. Now over here I have jalapeno peppers, and they've come up and they're doing good. So y'all, I have a happy place to come out here and relax and enjoy myself. I'm going to go over there and show y'all the berries. I'm just going to give you a quick little. That green stalk, the two in the back here, I've still got to plant stuff in. And my Althea or Rose of Sharon is blooming beautifully over there. And then that's all the big pots with everything in it over here. Now let's go look at the dewberries, blackberries, whatever they are, tame berries. Remember we planted, I think it was 4 or 6 on this cattle panel, and look. See all my berries? Got a bunch of them. And there's one down there that's real red. Let's see if I can get it where you see it. I picked one yesterday that was ripe, and oh my goodness, it was delicious. There's another big old red one. And you know what I did? I wrote, ooh, there's several red ones, look at there. I wrote on a marker what each kind of vine was, where I would know what I liked the best, and it washed off. So I'm not sure which is which, but I'm just going to eat all of them. Look here. I'm going to get this one before the birds get it. I want to go buy me a net thing to put over them so the birds won't come peck them. That one was not very sweet. Okay. The rain has just made, it's run through here like a creek. It's my oregano, and this is my vine that was on the trellis over there where they took it up to put the chicken fence up. They still haven't finished. It blooms beautiful flowers, and I can never remember the name. When I find the name again, I'm going to write it down. But there's my oregano. I've got time to plant in there again. I'm going to put another rosemary in here because the one that was in here froze. And there's my oregano that made it through the winter, and it is huge. Plantain that has come up. And then this is a wild plantain that I dug up and planted in here. Spider plant that I got out of the greenhouse and hadn't moved it any further than that yet. Nothing's over there. I'm putting borage over there. I've got to clean that out and put borage in it. My sage is big. I need to pick it and freeze dry some. Apple mint, Mexican mint marigold, lemongrass, garlic chives, and then those flags that I dug up just to keep them from wasting away. And let's see what's going on over here. I haven't planted in my chairs yet. That's one of those Mexican hydrangeas that comes up everywhere that's just hipped itself to that one, and I'll probably leave it there. That's a hydrangea in among the gingers that's come back. Every year I wonder with the cold weather what's going to come back. Y'all look, my elderberry's blooming. So I'm going to have some elderberries, and I've got 2 or 3 of these that have some blooms on them, so I'm hoping that I'll have enough to make some elderberry syrup. I'm going to move those 3 knockout roses right here where I've got the mushroom dirt. That's some kind of a ginger, and it has come back. See, there's an elderberry that is rooted under the ground. They just run around and make some, and that's okay with me. This one had blooms last year, and it's blooming again this year, so that's very good. The banana trees are all coming back. Those hydrangeas are doing well. And that's my grandson's hoopie. It's Can-Am, and I started calling it a hoopie, so that's its name now. It's a hoopie. That's fishing poles that weren't supposed to be invasive that came out the bottom of a pot over by the gate, and I don't know what I'm going to do to get rid of all of them. I'm going to cut them off and dry them and use them for stakes, but they're on the other side of the wood fence. Stupid things. I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, this is what I've got out here. And this is what will keep my sanity and help me to stay busy and have something to do this summer when I'm missing my boyfriend. Look how big these hydrangeas are. I'm so thankful. They love the rain. Got me one bloom on one of my original ones here. And I remember my big old spider plant. Been in the greenhouse and it's doing great. Now I lean my rocking chairs over when it rains. If not, the rockers fill up with water and they'll rust and break off. So I've got them tumped over because it's been raining a bunch. And all these little weeds come up through I got to get out here and pick all of them. So I do have my work cut out for me, but that's good. It will keep me busy. There's an ivy that I just pulled out of the greenhouse a day or two ago. It needs to green up. I need to fertilize it. These are plants that was from Richard. I told y'all that. And they're all looking good. And I've got 3 tables here that we can come and sit out here when I have friends over. A lot of these plants were in the greenhouse or from Richard. I've got a bunch in the house that's from Troy. I'll show you those later. But everything is looking good. It makes my heart happy to come out here among God's creations and His stuff that He made and that He's allowing me to share with Him. So I'm going to go back inside, talk to y'all a minute, and don't you just love that lavender? I do. I'm going to clip those things off, and when I redo the flowers, when I redo the chicken coop, I'm going to put some herbs in their laying boxes because that relaxes them and they like it. My bay tree made it through the winter okay. I just hope the flood don't kill it, but it's doing pretty good. Over here, I've just got all these hydrangeas that I've got to get planted, and when Richard finishes the chicken fence, this jasmine will be planted on that fence to run along the fence and make it pretty. Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to go inside, and I'll talk to y'all another little bit and try to get this uploaded. This corn plant, my high school class from the year 1970 sent that to me. And I'm going to repot it because the pot's not deep enough for it and it's kind of leaning, but I'm so proud of it. I love it. This is flowers from Troy's Service, ivies. That's some mother-in-law's tongue or snake plant that I had bought. These are from the Service. And let me go over here. These are from Troy's Service, another corn plant and a peace plant. I've got some in the house already that I'm using, and these will go in there and be put around in here also in the sunroom. This is herbs that I bought that I'm going to put in one of the green stalks. I'll show y'all those maybe when I'm planting them, but for sure after they're planted. This is another plant that is a group of plants in there from some of our friends. There's an orchid over there that I was given. And here's another orchid. Isn't that pretty? Here's another plant from my nephew and niece, a hydrangea that I'm going to plant outside. And when it started pouring down rain, so we didn't get to go over to the grave. We had his graveside under a pavilion. So I went early Sunday morning to look at everything, and y'all, all of the flowers had fallen over and were muddy basically. And so I just pulled out the ones that I could and came home and made bouquets where I would enjoy seeing them. So I've got 4 or 5 bouquets around in the house. of the roses, sunflowers, and all that were on the sprays that people bought and that was on the spray for the casket. I did hydrangeas and sunflowers. I told them that please do the majority of that, so they did. I know this has been a different video, and I'm not swinging from the chandeliers. I'm still very sad. But I just wanted to come on here and spend some time with y'all. And I've got a couple of recipes that I want to try this week. So I should be back here with recipes for you. Now, April has asked me to go with them to South Padre. And at this point, I'm not planning on going. But if I do, I'll get on the community tab and let y'all know that I did go with her to get away a few days and that I'll be back as soon as I can. Again, thank you. A lot of y'all have told me you just went and let my channel roll where I would keep my watch hours up while I've been away. I do appreciate that. It amazes me the friends that I can make, that I have made through my Apron Strings family. Y'all will never know what it's meant to me, especially now. In my mind, I'm seeing the ones that comment, the ones I know, and I know y'all are watching and listening. So hopefully the next video will be a little bit more upbeat. I want to thank Leslie over at the Farm and Pastor's Wife and Lori at Whippoorwill Hollow for sending some of y'all my way to show me love and support. And I thank you so much. I've gained quite a few subscribers. I have passed that 20,000 and I promise to give away, and in the near future we will have a giveaway. So stay tuned for that. The good Lord bless and keep y'all. Keep me in your prayers. I'm doing good sometimes, most of the time, and I'm going to get through this. And we'll cook and laugh and talk in the kitchen again, starting in a few days. I'll see y'all then.